And welcome back to another episode of the Baseline Bums podcast. It's your host, Rob, a.k.a. B-Ball Archives. And once again, I got the bums in the house. AJ, Adam, how you doing this evening? Are you ready to talk some hoops?
I'm ready. I'm back from my nice vacation from Greece. Been back for a little bit, and I miss the bums a little bit. Miss talking ball. Miss seeing AJ's face. He grow back facial hair. Kind of miss his bald face a little bit, actually. But miss you guys.
We'll see. I might go back. Winter's coming around, and got to make sure my face stays warm whenever it gets colder out there. So, we're doing the damn thing. But
let's see a little bit before No Shave November, maybe, huh?
Dude, I cannot wait for November because basketball is around the corner. Preseason has already started. We got Spurs starting tomorrow against the Thunder. Nobody's playing, but we get to see Stephon Castle, and I cannot wait to talk about that on the back end of this. But we are like this close away. I'm already over football. I'm done. I don't care. We're good. I'll check in that in the review. But future ahead, I am here for some basketball.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the attitude we got here over at the Bums. We love all sports, but basketball reigns supreme. But yeah, we got a lot of really awesome stuff to talk about. A lot of fun media day topics we're going to dive into. We're going to dive into the Karl Anthony Towns trade and basically who won that and dive into the specifics on that. And we're going to pay homage to one of the late great legends, Dikembe Mutombo. He passed away recently. We're going to dive into some of the things that made him such a memorable player on the court, but also off the court as well. So, yeah, we got a lot of great stuff. Let's just dive on into the cat trade. Karl Anthony Towns landing in New York. AJ, how are you feeling about this? When you analyze this trade and you look at it from all different sides, who do you think won this trade?
I think the Knicks won the trade on paper. On paper, I think this is a great trade for the Knicks. It gives them size. It gives them a lot more abilities to go up against your 76ers because Embiid is going to be a problem, and we all know how the Knicks were running small ball and it just didn't work. So I think on paper it makes sense. My concern is how is Cat going to be in the New York media? He's never been around something this big, and if he goes 1 for 9 in a game, he's going to get chewed up in the papers the next day. If he has a bad week, he's going to get chewed up. And I'm just concerned with the 6 inches between his ears. I hope he can stay positive and have that mindset. But when you play for the Knicks, man, you got to have that chip on the shoulder. And I haven't seen that from Cat very much.
Yeah, that is an understandable concern. Adam, what were you going to say?
I think it's a complicated trade. I think there's a couple key components. One, for Minnesota, I think it gives them some financial flexibility. Julius Randle only has 1 year left on his deal. I believe it's a player option for just under $30 million. They were really tied in financially to him, Gobert, Anthony Edwards for a long time, and I think getting Cat off their books gives them a lot of financial flexibility. My one question for the Timberwolves is, how does Julius Randle fit in? You look at a team that found a way to work with those two bigs, with both Gobert and Cat, and now they bring a guy in who, borderline all-star, all-NBA player who doesn't play fast. He's an isolation basketball player from the free throw line in mainly. He takes, a few dribbles to get going. He doesn't just play within the flow of the offense, and I really wonder how he's going to fit there. One person who I don't see not fitting at all is Dante DiVincenzo. I think he's a fantastic fit for that team. If you look at how they kind of performed last year late in the playoffs, they needed another shooter. They didn't really have another guard to go to, and I think that he can play off ball. I think Anton Conley can continue to do the majority of the ball handling. He's going to be a fantastic off-ball player. I think from New York, you had to take that risk. They lost a big center in this offseason in Hartenstein. They needed to replace some size, and they do have quite a bit of bodies kind of to play that 2-3 already. I like getting rid of Julius Randle. I don't think he's that conducive to winning. Personally, I think they played great without him. I think they're going to lose Dante. I think they're going to hurt a lot without him. He was so pivotal for them in the playoffs last year. I think he averaged like 20, 25 points a game in the playoffs, specifically in the last series. And he was huge. He was their best shooter, and I think they're going to miss that. But I think Cat's a special talent. They're hoping that he's going to replace some of that shooting. We'll see how it works out.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that really does make sense. Whenever you bring up the financial aspects of the trade, I think that's where it made sense for the Timberwolves, in my opinion. Cat's going to be that player option in the 27-28 season is going to be over $60 million. And personally, at that point, I don't think Cat's anywhere near worth that. So I think that you're going to lose guys like Naz Reid if you keep Cat on your books that long. So I think that if you look at the Timberwolves, you almost needed to make this kind of move if you wanted to keep building around Anthony Edwards in a real way. But that being said, I don't think that this is a bad move for the Knicks. I just think that, like you said, they got rid of Hartenstein. I feel like I wanted to see them get a down low presence that really wanted to rebound and wanted to be on the block more often. And I think that's the kind of big men they were missing, because I don't think that Precious Achiuwa and Robinson have really been doing that as a unit. And they needed something else, and I don't think Cat really brings that for them. But obviously, the 3-point shooting is there. But man, I just thought that New York needed a true down low presence, and I don't know if Cat quite brings that out. And so I think the Timberwolves won this trade. Whenever I look at it, DiVincenzo,
They also get a future first-round pick.
Yeah, that future first-round pick from Detroit's going to be so big, because we all know that Detroit's going nowhere for the next few years. That's going to be a really amazing, potentially a guy that you can plug into the rotation immediately right out of the draft. Who knows? So I think there's a lot of potential upside. And Dante DiVincenzo had the second highest three-point shooting percentage last year. You are bringing a guy like that into your rotation. That's a no-brainer, a guy that's going to fit immediately. His preseason game yesterday, he had 11 points in 10 minutes. Looked amazing right out of the gate. Looked like he fit immediately with the starters. I see that, working out perfectly.
What do we think their starting lineup's going to be? I'm assuming they're going to keep Conley in there. I'm assuming they're going to keep Gobert in there.
Obviously Anthony Edwards is starting.
Anthony Edwards is in there. Do they start? Do you bring Julius Randle off the bench? I think Naz Reid's comfortable being a 6-man type player. They're not benching Jaden McDaniels.
Do we see Julius Randle play a game with the Timberwolves? I've seen rumors that they're looking to move him immediately. So I don't know if we're going to see him really put on a Timberwolves uniform. And that's kind of where I've seen some Spurs rumors of, I guess for whatever reason, we're in the discussion of that. I think just because we have the cap flexibility, but it's never going to happen. It will never happen. So
the only thing is he'd be a rental. He'd be a rental for us. That'd be the only thing.
Yeah. He would be a 1-year guy that we just had on the squad. He would get buckets, and then he'd be out of the door the next year. That would be.
If we can somehow get a future first or first-round swap for absorbing some contract, I'd be willing to do it. Similar to how we did it with Harrison Barnes, but not exactly the type of guy I'd be wanting to bring in.
No, of course not. But at the end of the day, all of his efficiency problems aside, the fact that he slows down in offense, he's still a guy that you can get the ball in his hands and he can make a special offensive play happen and score the basket and score a basket while being defended in an elite way. And that is not something to just roll your eyes about. And honestly, I'm not going to gloss over the efficiency stuff, because his efficiency is fucking terrible. But at the end of the day, there's not too many guys who can go get you 20 and 10 and make a special play on offense. And Julius Randle is that type of guy.
If he stays there, I wonder if he'd be open to coming off the bench, because I think Dante DiVincenzo being in that starting lineup would be more important. His shooting and his spacing, I think, would be better for that unit. I just don't see it happening, and I think Jaden McDaniels is too small to play the 4, so I'm really curious to see how they work that lineup. It could be one of those situations where when their bench comes in, they actually get better, which is kind of a rarity in today's NBA.
Well, yeah. I mean, you would need. I mean, even if Jaden McDaniels was too small to play the 4, like how would you have Anthony Edwards, Connolly, and DiVincenzo in the starting lineup? You would have to have one of them guarding a wing, and that's cooked.
I think Cat could guard a small forward, or not Cat. I'm sorry. I think Ant could guard a small forward, but I don't think that's where they're going to go with.
Yeah,
He's 6'5", yeah, but he's a good defender.
And then what do you do with Rob? What do you do with Rob Dillingham too?
Yeah, honestly,
we'll see.
I was about to bring up Rob Dillingham. First preseason game, 21 points, 4 assists.
He's a bucket.
He literally was showing his ass. He only played 25 minutes and looked really, really solid on good efficiency. Was able to get space. Man, it was tough. It was tough to watch him.
But this 7th grader that I was watching the other day on these YouTube highlights, we could get him and be really nice. But yeah, Dante DiVincenzo is on one of the cheapest contracts in the NBA. He just signed a 4-year, $49 million deal. That's a lot of money, but in today's NBA, he's drastically underpaid. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, with us being in the futures business of Minnesota, I think this helps their future. They get a cheaper contract in DiVincenzo. It allows them to pay Naz Reid. They're not committed to Cat, and they get a future first out of that. I don't like that. I think that helps Minnesota's future, and that hurts ours. But it's so far down the road. We're going to be winning championships by then, so it is what it is.
Yeah.
Did y'all know that Bates Diop was still in the league? I had no idea until the news broke.
I did. He was on Phoenix last year, I thought, at some point.
He was on the Knicks when this
Maybe
trade went
towards
down.
the end? Yeah, I don't know.
So I had no idea he was still in the league, but shout out to him.
He's been bouncing around, and he's one of those guys where it's like, hey, we need a forward that's on a veteran minimum contract. Come on over, baby.
Clap some your ass off.
Yeah. Be there in case somebody gets hurt.
I forgot that the T-Wolves have Luke Garza, too, so see what happens with that.
His game is so smooth. He's just so slow-footed. Like, if he was a little bit quicker getting his shot off, a little bit quicker with some of his footwork, he would be an absolute monster. But, man, he's a little bit too slow. He can't score on people.
Rob's like an undersized Luke Garza.
Maybe
he's a bucket. He is a bucket.
Maybe over the summer they saw something, or in that time between the draft and, because apparently this trade's been talked about since the draft. Maybe they saw something in Luka Garza that comes out and they're like, you know what? I think we can move Cat for some good stuff. So, we'll see what happens. It's going to be fun to watch the Timberwolves and see if they can get back to being an elite Western team. So
I know they'd have preferred to get rid of Rudy, but they wouldn't have gotten near as much for him.
Not right now.
It's crazy to think about that. Yeah. Cat and Naz were the ones guarding Jokic last year in the playoffs. And now we'll see. We'll see how many minutes. If it's like the Olympics, maybe he ends up riding quite a bit of pine, and Naz gets a lot more minutes at the center. So, I think that's a good discussion.
Shout out to the Hornets for being in there too.
Yeah, thanks.
Randomly.
I think one of the biggest talking points right now, obviously, gearing up for preseason that just started, it was NBA Media Day. So I think it's, we are the Baseline Bums podcast. We are diehard Spurs fans, and I feel like it'd be a mistake not to dive right on into NBA Spurs Media Days. Rob, AJ, what were some of y'all's thoughts regarding our Media Day?
I mean, right out of the gate, Victor said he wants to win. I think that was my biggest takeaway. He said that learning last year, he said that learning was the main thing that was going to be happening last year. It was about gelling, figuring out who's strong in areas and weak in other areas. And then this year is about results. And it was nice to hear CP3 and Harrison Barnes echoing those same sentiments, and I was really, really proud of how the guys were able to take a year like last year right on the chin and get out in front of everyone and still be like, hey, we have what it takes to win, and we're looking to be a playoff team. And I was really proud of how we handled Media Day. Yeah,
I think Devin Vassell said our goal was playoffs. And whenever you hear that from this team, especially, that really sends some good positive vibes across the franchise, because now we can see how Victor plays, where he wants the ball, how he can influence a defense and things like that. And then you add guys, you add a coach on the court with CP3, you add a constant professional in Harrison Barnes. We don't have to worry about anything. And who can Jeremy Sohan bring up the ball? Like, we're never gonna have to worry about that again. We're never gonna have to worry about what do we do with Victor. We know what it is. So the only thing that I will take away is Jeremy Sohan looks like an idiot with this stupid, like, how do you know what that hair is, man?
You hate Sohan.
No,
You
I just hate his
loathe him.
hair, dude.
If he went to Tech, you'd
it
love
looks
him.
like
but
it
he's
looks
a
like
Baylor
cotton
Bear, you
candy.
hate him.
It's so bad. Like, what are we doing? I mean,
Discount Rodman.
I was already disappointed in Jimmy Butler's hair because he didn't do anything crazy, and I'm like, what are we doing here? So now we have this guy looking like, cotton candy stick. So, it's cool. I'm excited. It sounds and looks like everyone's on the same page, and I think last year none of us were really on the same page. So it's good to see that, and it looks like Pop's a little more motivated too. I think Blake Wesley's going to kind of find himself out unless he really performs big, because we're not going to be re-signing him before the deadline. So we'll see how this whole team reaction. Keldon Johnson looks fantastic, by the way. He said
he's in great shape.
He said he stopped going to Buc-ee's,
That
and
body.
he was like, "Look
Big
at me,
body no more.
yeah, big skinny dude. Good lord,
Yeah.
he looks good. He looks really good. I'm excited for him to play some hardcore defense on the wing, because I think that's the big thing for him, is just really improving on the defensive side. So let's go.
I'm excited that we believe, and you could tell from watching it, listening to all the media day from our players, that we have a different type of confidence and belief in our team this year. And, one thing that I don't think can be understated is the veteran leadership that we brought in. And this is something we've talked about before, but, Devin Vassell made comments that he went into practice one day, he went in to get it in a workout, and who did he see there before him? CP3 and Harrison Barnes. And it's like, you need that on your team. Who did we have on our roster last year that was like that? Like Devontae Graham's our veteran leader. Like,
It was Doug McDermott.
Yes. And then
Sure.
But we have a all-time, Hall of Fame point guard, a consummate professional, like AJ said, in Harrison Barnes, and they're there to lead by example. And I think that all three of us and a lot of the Spurs fan base has been excited. I think we're like, yeah, let's get like 35 wins. That'd be a big improvement. It's exciting to see Spurs players want more than that. They want to make the playoffs. And if they're planning on doing that, they're going to need to get a hell of a lot more than 35 wins. They're going to have to probably win 45 games. I mean, what was the 8 seed last year? Just for me, if we can get in the play-in at all and we have like postseason basketball, meaningful basketball where we have a chance to advance, I would love that. Especially with so much of our future draft equity not being our own. Obviously, we have our own pick each year, but most of our picks are other teams' players. So this isn't a situation like Philadelphia where we want to trust the process and build and be bad year over year to get draft picks. Sure, we're going to want our own pick, but we've got Atlanta hooking us up. We've got Chicago. We got to pray to God Chicago somehow makes the playoffs next year, because then we get their pick. Can we pray to sweet baby Jesus that New Orleans is somehow good? I'm sorry, Charlotte. I apologize. Charlotte. I was thinking New Orleans Hornets. Charlotte Hornets. Can we pray that they're good? Because if they somehow make the playoffs, we get their pick. We have 4 potential picks next year. We wouldn't keep all of them, but I'm just excited that our players are excited. I can't wait, and we're going to be tested right out of the gate. We're going on the road at Dallas? Isn't that our first game? Mm-hmm. That's gonna be a real nice test, and I'm ready for it.
But Lucas already hurt.
Yeah,
he's already hurt. Two days after media day, and he's like, "Ow, my calf!" Like, dude,
right?
I mean, you can't write a better script, man. You really can't.
He's only going to go for 30, 12, and 9 against us now.
Right, yeah. He's only going to – hopefully he drops an inefficient 60-20 game. I'm just kidding. But I mean, if our Spurs guys are talking about the playoffs, I'm just pulling up the standings from last year. I mean, the Warriors got 10th, and they won 46 games. So it's tough out here in the West. We're going to need to win a lot of games against teams that have been more consistent than us the last few years, to say the least. So yeah, I'm excited that that's where our mindset is, but we need to back that up with some impressive play.
Well, we got the guy that everyone wishes they had.
Yeah,
The number one
Dikembe
asset in the NBA.
I really do think that across the board, our roster, just from top to bottom, everyone had a really, really good offseason. I mean, you look at guys like Mamu, who balled out on his Georgian team. You look at Keldon Johnson and his weight loss and what he's done. You look at Victor Wembanyama and what he did over the summer, plus gained 25 pounds in a year. I mean, we're just in that trend of we're no longer in the development trend, I think now it's results, as Victor said, and I just can't wait. And we got a new a commentator as well. What's his name? Jacob?
I honestly can't remember the last name right off the top of my head.
Yeah,
I'm bored by him already. I'm gonna be a hater
Jacob
on
Toby.
this.
Shout out to Jacob Toby. He's a young guy. Him and Sean are going to be calling the game. We lost Matt Bonner to Toronto. I mean, didn't see that
What?
coming at all. Yeah, dude, Matt Bonner's going to be doing the color at Toronto. So,
I know.
Really?
I'm furious. I've never been so mad at Canadians.
Why didn't we put Bonner with Sean Elliott? I don't know
'Cause
anything about this guy other than he plays music on his Instagram. That's all I know.
Well, you know more than I do.
Yeah, I popped on his Instagram. I was like, who is this guy? And he's like out there going to small venues and trying to sing songs. We're going to need him to put that interest of his life on hold and lock in because he has some big shoes to fill.
Yeah, he's going to need to improve on that over the next 3 decades if he's going to be the next Bill Land.
And I'm disappointed. I was in the final round of interviews for that position, and they turned me down, so that was really disappointing.
Right.
I'm sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah, that
Well,
seems very likely.
I know that Jacob Toby did I think a couple games for the Austin Spurs. So I mean, he's not unfamiliar with our organization, but you know, San Antonio's a rough city sometimes when it comes to their local celebrities. So whenever you have someone new like this, he's gonna have to come out the gate and just say, "Hey, I know you're not gonna like me now, but you're gonna love me by the end of the season." I think that's the best way he can approach it, with a positive attitude. Because, man, I mean, first time. Imagine if you're one of the Spurs fans that has no idea any of this is going down, and then like you turn on the TV and you're like, "Who the hell is this guy? And where's Matt Bonner? Where's Bill Land?" And I mean, they're going to be very, very upset about it.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I'll give him a fair shake. That's all I can say.
Yeah. I'm not going to judge him before I see his product out on the court, and you know, if he's just absolutely shitting the bed, you know, then we got to call him out. But yeah, I think innocent until proven guilty is how we got to approach this.
I do think it's wild that we went with someone so young. It's not very Spurs, but I guess maybe that's our new go-to now. Is just let's get younger, and that's kind of a trend so they can grow with Wemby or something.
No Diddy.
I thought it was a little odd, especially for the Spurs.
Okay.
Sorry. I said no Diddy. You said get younger.
All right. Let's keep the baby oil out of this.
All right.
We ain't going nowhere.
Okay, so other media days, right?
Okay, so yeah, I would like to bring up another topic on Media Day. Andre Drummond said he is the best rebounder ever. Adam, do you think that statement has any weight to it? How are you feeling about it?
No. That's it.
Just no. You don't think he's even in the conversation at all?
I mean, he's been a backup for the last 5 to 7 years. If yes, does he have insane per 36 rebounding statistics that you probably already have prepared? Absolutely. Is he, if you're playing fantasy basketball and it's a category league and it's week to week and you need some stats and he's on the wire, he could get you, especially if the starting center's out, he can get you 20 rebounds in a game. But in a list of guys like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell, Moses Malone,
I think he's a better rebounder than Moses Malone. I'll die on that hill.
Die
Okay.
for me now. Show me.
All right, come at me, bro. Okay.
I know you have the stats prepared.
Oh, well, okay. So what? You're gonna fault me because I have evidence to back up my argument and you don't?
All right, go. It's your turn.
All
sir.
right. Well, Andre Drummond has actually led the NBA in both offensive rebound percentage and defensive rebound percentage. That means when you're on the court, what's the percentage of you getting an offensive or defensive rebound? He's one of two people to lead the NBA in that percentage in both. He and Dennis Rodman are the only two. Obviously, Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, they didn't have advanced rebounding analytics back then, so we're just taking their 20, 25 rebounds at face value. And you know what? That's okay. I'm not going to say Andre Drummond is better than them, but he's certainly better than a guy like Moses Malone when you look at his rebounding, and it vastly skews towards offensive rebounding. And when you look at the defensive side of his rebounding, it falls off. Like he wasn't even in the top 10 ever in defensive rebound percentage. People were getting defensive rebounds on him all fucking day long. And so when you look at his percentages,
Rob's passionate about this.
no, bro, I'm just saying if you are gonna say that my argument isn't shit, I'm gonna come at you guns blazing.
All right. You can have Moses Malone. I just, maybe I'm being tainted by the fact that it's Andre Drummond, and the dude's now on veteran minimum contracts. And yeah, can he go get a rebound? Yes. And was he probably the best rebounder in the NBA 7 years ago? Sure. But if you're rebounding, I mean, I just see he's not on the court enough. I don't know. His per 36s are great, but if we start diving into per 36s. For a lot of players, we could start talking about some different things. But I like longevity and rebounding. I'm not looking at a flash in the pan peak.
I mean, I didn't bring up one per 36 stat, but I see where your head's at.
I wasn't as prepared on this topic as you, and I'll say this:
Well,
I loved the passion with regards to Andre Drummond. I'm glad that you think he is now the best rebounder in the history of the NBA.
I don't. It's Dennis Rodman. It's Dennis Rodman because Dennis Rodman did the offensive percentage and defensive percentage for 5 years in a row, and no one's ever come close to that. So it's Dennis Rodman by far. But yeah. Andre Drummond, I think that he is in that 2, 3, 4 category, and however you want to mash him in there, I mean, he's up there, though. He deserves to be in that conversation is all I'm saying, and he shouldn't be scoffed at. He has the right to make that statement is what I'm saying.
Respect to Andre Drummond. Where is he now? Is he still – he didn't re-sign with Philly,
He's on the Sixers.
Yeah, he's on the Sixers.
Okay. Yeah. Spot. Yeah, I mean, put it this way. On those games where Embiid sits and maybe Paul Reed – is it Paul Reed isn't the healthiest? Like, get Andre Drummond in your lineups. Let him cook for you in category leagues. He's not doing much else for you in Roto, but let him cook for you in those rebound categories because he can put them up in bunches. I will tell you that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it was just a really hard thing to do to lead the league in both of those percentages, and I literally dove into some of the best rebounders in NBA history. You know, like I looked at Charles Barkley. He only led offensive rebounding one time, never led defensive rebounding percentage. And I was, it really helped separate some of the guys that were really good rebounders from some of the most elite, efficient rebounders ever. So I was shocked to kind of come to the conclusion that, I feel like Drummond is one of the best rebounders. When he's out on the court, he's getting those balls, baby.
He's getting all the rebounds.
He literally fucking is. Gosh, he's sea-mitching.
Okay, some other really, really random media day statements were made by Ben Simmons, who said, "You know what? I looked back at some of my accomplishments, and man, I'm a triple-double machine. I reminded myself I'm actually a pretty good basketball player, and you know what? I've just been hurt." Is that true, AJ? Has he just been hurt? Are we about to see a Ben Simmons comeback? Apparently, he's competing with Dennis Schroeder for that starting point guard position.
I feel that before media day, Ben Simmons was in the bathroom looking at himself in the mirror and being like, "And gosh darn it, people like me," and then went out there and was like, "I'm going to say what I want to say." And congrats to Ben Simmons for his 4th comeback in 6 years, because this is the one. This is the one. I can't wait. I mean, dude, I guess whatever you say, man. If you think you're going to be in that conversation, and if you think you're going to beat out Dennis Schroeder, then sure, man. Whatever you say. If you want to go out there and believe that, whatever you crazy Australians do on your spare time, go do that. So I'm over Ben Simmons.
Rob, does he make a comeback, and do you want to see it happen?
I mean, I would be. I kind of want to see it happen, but I don't think it's going to happen. Like I think that Ben Simmons, when you see his workout videos and you see him working on his jumper, I believe that about as much as I believe the Zion weight loss stuff. You know, it is. It's just absolute bullshit, and I can't help but think the problem isn't with his game, and it's not with his injuries. It's with what's going on up here in his mind. It's the fact that he wants to pass the ball out instead of taking an easy layup. It's the fact that he just doesn't have confidence when he's out on the hardwood, and I can't help but think that that's not something that you're going to work on in the training room or in the weight room. Like, I don't know. He's just... I felt that way when he was back at LSU, and I felt that way now. There's just something missing about how he attacks and how he and his motor to a certain degree. And I hate to bring it down to the intangibles, but I just don't think he's got the intangibles.
And his jump shot's booty,
I mean, his downfall is one of the greatest downfalls we've seen in the history of the NBA for a guy that it was not injury related. There's guys like Derrick Rose or Grant Hill whose careers fell apart because of injuries. This guy is still in his athletic prime. That is the crazy thing. He was an all-star. He was an all-defensive NBA player. This guy was one of the best young players in the NBA, one of the building blocks of who you would start your team with. And now he's nothing more than 4 assists a game and 35% from the field. And I would love to see it come back. He has all the physical tools to be a good NBA player still. But to Rob's point, does he have it up here? Probably not. Somehow the Atlanta Hawks took his soul. The Atlanta fucking Hawks took Ben Simmons' soul 3 years ago.
He doesn't have it
and
up
they'll
here.
never give it back.
He doesn't have it up here, and he doesn't have him down there. So there's that.
It's a bad combo.
It is a bad combo. It's a Ben Simmons combo. So one of the things that I want to like kind of touch on, because I don't know if you guys got to see this, but the Bucks had some kids do some interviews with the players, and the Bucks didn't tell the kids who was going to come out. And when the door opened, it was Giannis, and these kids flipped out. And Giannis started jumping up and down with them and stuff. It was one of the most heartwarming things I've ever seen in my entire life. And every time Giannis is in front of a camera and says something just absolutely wholesome, it makes me want to just like put him in a Spurs uniform immediately. Because
Like about whenever he was asked what Greek god he is, and he said Aphrodite because he's the goddess of beauty or goddess of love. That's what he picked. Did y'all see that?
Dude, he was asking for oysters and he was like, I need oysters, because he was talking to his wife, and he was like, you know why? And I was like, Jesus, bro, like it's just out in the open like that. But it was really cool to see that little clip. And then also one thing I have to bring up, and it is kind of Spurs related, but it was really weird to see Patty Mills in the Utah Jazz jersey. It was very awkward. I didn't like it. It's weird. I want him to get out of Utah so bad, but it seems like he's spending a lot of time in Vegas from what I see on his Instagram.
Yeah, that's such a weird jersey to picture him in. I only saw a couple of pictures, but I mean, I just don't want to see him playing in Utah. I don't think anyone deserves that.
I just want Patty to find a place that he can actually play. I feel like he was completely underused last year. I think he can still go be a really big contributor off the bench for teams. So
I mean,
like
I
us.
would say I would rather have him over Malachi and Blake Wesley. I mean, shit. I mean,
Yeah, I want Patty to come back and take us to coffee, and then we can interview him on the podcast. And then he'll be like Mate and Barbie, and I'll be like, yeah, it'd be great. Ooh, speaking of Barbie, dude, these HEB commercials, I cannot wait to see. I haven't heard any rumors about them, but I really hope that we got some fire stuff this year, because last year was mid, to say the least.
Are we gonna have some like Chris Paul, like State Farm HEB crossover type stuff? I don't know.
that'd be sick.
I could see there being like a connection in the commercial verse.
It's
I
like
can already tell there's going to be like a CP3 Wemby, something about like maybe they get like a Subway commercial of like 6-inch and foot long or something. It's
Pause.
It just mean because of the height difference. All right, you're talking you're talking about balls earlier. You're talking about this. I need you to get out of the gutter. All right, a little bit, AJ. Okay, so I want to hop around to one other team media day, and what would be a NBA podcast if the infamous Los Angeles Lakers weren't brought up? There happens to be some big things going over there. I'm not sure if y'all heard, but did you know that Bronny James is actually a Laker now, and he's playing with his father, LeBron? Not sure if y'all caught that at all, but I think we would be remiss if we didn't bring that up. Good pickup. Yeah.
Yeah, no one's been talking about that, so I'm glad that we can really bring that topic to light.
But let's bring it up. Let's bring up Bronny's crazy stats
here's
in
our
his first
opinions about
preseason
it.
game. Let's bring it up.
1 for 6,
One
3
for
blocks.
6. This is my favorite thing. Okay, this is the favorite thing that I saw. There is an Instagram clip going around talking about his 3 blocks, and the first clip shows him turning the ball over, trying to pass the ball to D'Angelo Russell, and then running back and getting a block. I'm like, and they're highlighting the block. I'm like, he just made the shittiest fucking pass I've ever seen. It was so predictable. He got picked off, and then yes, did he make an athletic play? Sure. Is he a decent defender? Yeah. Yeah, from a defensive standpoint, he can come in and be a good defender. But he is not even a high-level college basketball scorer. Not even close. He can't score. He's not a good shooter. He can't dribble. He's an undersized off-ball guard. What the hell is he doing? Wait, am I hating on Bronny again? Shit. Whoops.
Yeah. I mean, this is just – it seems like we're in a loop real quick. We're just saying the same stuff over and over again, but at the same time, like the story hasn't changed. It's like we're seeing the same lack of size. We're seeing the same – can't really distribute the ball well. We're seeing the same inability to shoot, and of course we're seeing the random spurts of good defense, but that's not enough to exist on an NBA court or even an NBA roster. So I think reality is going to hit him pretty soon.
I think it's really interesting that we're seeing all these podcasts with these newly retired NBA players, and they're talking about how, you know, it's such a pain in the ass to play against LeBron James, and how LeBron James is on a whole different level, blah, blah, blah. But I'm curious to know now that Bronny's on the team, and guys that can't really get LeBron James's number, that may have a losing record and whatever, if they like specifically go after Bronny just to get to LeBron, like I think it's one of those, he's gonna come out on the court and guys on the other team are gonna be like salivating, like I cannot wait to put this on a poster or cross him up and get a highlight. I mean, it's such a distraction on the court as well. And I mean, just once again, these talking heads on your major networks are just like, just wait until the competition gets way better and he's on the court with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and you're like, dude, okay. I mean, a ham sandwich can do the same thing, but doesn't mean I'm going to put him on the court. So it's just really frustrating to see. And I guess maybe I should be on an NBA court with NBA players, because apparently I become a lot better too. So I think this is a stupid argument, and if I hear it one more time, I'm going to like throw a rock through my TV.
You know who I feel bad for? I feel bad for Dalton Connect. Did you see him sitting next to Bronny during the interview, just like bored as hell with this irrelevant basketball player sitting next to him, getting all the questions? And I feel bad for JJ Redick, who I don't know if he believes what he's saying about, we love what we're seeing, this and that, but like, what else is he going to say? Like, is he going to shit on Bronny whenever Bron holds his job in his hands? So I feel bad for those two guys. I also feel bad that, I don't know that I want to say I feel bad, but like, I'm listening to LeBron get interviewed, and he's like, yeah, you know, do you and Bronny sit around the dinner table and talk strategy about basketball? He's like, no, I mean, he's at that age where he just goes upstairs and goes to his room. And I'm just sitting thinking to myself, like, what NBA situation do you ever hear of like this, where they're still living at home, they're going upstairs, just going to their room? Like, you just got like $3 million a year. Like, why don't you go get your own place and branch out and kind of be your own guy a little bit? I don't know. It just was weird to me. I guess he's only 19, so 20 years old.
I'm not really looking at that situation as too weird, because I think we've all known that LeBron he's been a good dad. His kids have always been around him. The fact that LeBron still wants to be at home, even though they're on the same NBA team, that doesn't really sound weird to me. And it sounds like typical, you know, teenager bullshit. You know, early 20s, just want to go to your room and, you know, not be friends with your parents type of thing. So
I don't understand me, Dad.
Waiting for Savannah to come upstairs and take his laundry down to the laundry room, giving him his brown paper bag lunch to take to practice.
I just
I
like picture her like hanging up their training stuff like right next to each other. Like, all right, here's your lunches. It's like,
Did y'all see those clips of her playing 2K and using him in like the practice mode and just putting up absolute bricks? That was it was very realistic.
Well, I mean, it's also one thing like the way we grew up in like a 2,000 square foot home or whatever it is, and I mean LeBron James has like what 15,000 square foot home, so Bronny's room is probably the size of our houses combined.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't want to leave either.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't want to leave. He's probably in the pool house that's a couple thousand square feet and has access to all this other stuff. But it's just I don't honestly, Adam, I don't feel bad for JJ Redick at all. I really don't. And the reason why is because he knows what he got himself into. He knows exactly what he got himself into. It's not like it was oh wow, the Lakers are just so crazy. There's so many cameras here. He knew exactly what he was doing. And I'm sure he had conversations with the Stephen A. Smiths of the world and probably was like, should I take the job? And they're like, well, yeah, but I'm going to roast you every time I get to. And he knows. So he's one of those guys that he just has to be kind of like the smartest guy in the room, and he comes off as really pompous, and I don't like it. So JJ Redick can go kick rocks for all I care.
Bye, JJ. See you in 2 years whenever Braun gets tired of you and throws you away.
Right. His podcast career is going to just go right back up again whenever he gets fired. So like I think that it's going to happen sooner rather than later, but yeah, a lot of the people that tie themselves to LeBron, they tend to be used as assets to kind of, further whatever LeBron wants. And sometimes coaches get thrown to the wayside, and we all have seen examples of that.
I mean, Russell Westbrook is the best case in recent memory.
Yeah, really. Any role player insert here next to LeBron. If you're not winning, you're out. But while we're talking about the Lakers and we're talking about their media day, I'm interested in getting your input, Rob and AJ, and I'll start with you, Rob. There was a question asked of LeBron. He was talking about how exciting it was to play meaningful basketball in the Olympics, how it felt like 2 Game 7s playing against Serbia and France, and he made the comments like, man, I'm still really good. I feel like I have quite a bit left in the tank. How much do you think he has left in the tank, Rob, and how long could you see him playing for?
I could see him playing for another 3 or 4 years. Realistically, like I think what we're seeing from him, he's still able to be on a team full of superstars and make a huge impact. And this isn't just like a team of guys that are all-stars. These are all NBA guys. These are consistent first, second team all NBA guys, and LeBron is still able to be going out there and being the alpha, and that is a huge thing. That's not something to be glossed over. So I think that unless his body fails him, then the will is there. His mentality is there. And who else thinks that his body's going to fail him? I don't. I think
He's got a great body.
Right. I think that he spends the most out of anybody on his health and his physique, his fitness, all of that. And so I think that he's going to play as long as he wants to, and as long as he's able to make an impact. I think that the 3-4 year window, and I think that'll be pretty much more than we'll see from Bronny. So Bronny will probably be out of the league by then. So he may not have a reason to stay.
No, he'll be in the league. He'll be in the G League, but he'll be in the league.
Yeah, he'll be in the Bundesliga, playing in France, playing in Germany.
I feel bad.
I don't know how much longer LeBron has. I mean, it's nice to say those things, but we're also looking at a tournament that's 6 games if you make it all the way to the gold medal game. So 6 games is really short. You can have those spurts and feel great about your body after those games, but now we're going to turn that into 82 games, and if you make the playoffs, even more. And, I mean, if anyone's going to do it, it's LeBron. So, actually, I do agree with you, Rob. I do think at any point in time he's going to just hang it up, and he can go as long as he wants. But he needs to be realistic and know that you played a very, very small part of that, I guess, a potential huge season coming up in the NBA, because what he was asked to do in the Olympics is not even close to what he's going to be asked to do with the Lakers. he's gonna have to literally carry that team like he did with the Cavs.
I think
He's
that's the
gonna have to do
problem,
it.
right?
Yeah,
Like,
that's the delta in the entire conversation.
that's the problem is like they need Anthony Davis and LeBron to play so many games to have a chance to make the playoffs, and they're going to get there, and they're going to likely be a low seed if they make it, and they're going to draw a first round matchup that they're not going to like. But like LeBron could easily play another 3 or 4 years if he's comfortable not being elite. I mean, he's still putting up crazy stats. I think it's a really easy argument to say that he was the best player in the U.S. team. At how old is he? 40 years old? Is he 40 now, or is he still 39?
No, he's 40.
He's a 40-year-old man. And he's still playing. He's not at peak LeBron, obviously, right? But he is still playing at a very, very high level of basketball. He takes
30 points
possessions
a
off
game.
defensively, but like he's still efficient. His three-point shot comes and goes, but I mean, he's still a really good player. And if it was like, hey, if he really wanted to take the role of like, I'm going to go NBA championship chasing and just kind of take less money to play in a lesser team, he could maybe play another 5 years. The issue is I think he's always going to want to be – I think he's going to want to be in L.A. for the rest of his career. There's nothing wrong with that. That's his home now. He's going to want $60 million a year, which is what he just got, and I think he still wants to be one of the guys, who he is. But, I mean, if you're talking, hey, play 25 minutes a night, give us 13 points, I think he could do that when he's like 45 and convince me otherwise.
Yeah.
You can't.
But
Yeah,
then
see-
go ahead, Rob.
No, yeah, that's essentially what I was gonna say as well. It's like, his will to play, his ability to play, it's gonna be essentially endless. It's just, does he want to exist in a potentially losing situation, and in a maybe or maybe not rebuild? That would
This is all extra credit, in his words. There's nothing left for him to accomplish in the NBA. That's a quote from LeBron. Everything from now on is extra credit. And I think he's right. Now, if he could somehow squeeze out another championship, I think the GOAT debate gets a little bit closer. But I think that debate is settled on my end. But anything else regarding Media Day, Lakers Media Day? There's only one other thing I would potentially bring up. We're going to go up a little bit north from Los Angeles. We're going to go to the Bay Area and visit the Golden State Warriors. And there was an interesting question asked of Draymond Green, or more of a statement. They said, Draymond, this is a report.
I'm running through his chest.
We're worried about you. What do you say to those fans that are worried about you, Draymond? AJ, what do you say to those fans if you're Draymond that they're worried about you? Because he said, "Don't worry about me. My life is pretty damn good."
It's like, well, don't worry about me because I'm going to hit you when you're not looking. So that's what I took from it. I mean, I don't. Whatever Draymond says nowadays, I take it with a grain of salt. I'm over it. I don't care about him anymore. If he wants to be relevant and kick people to be on the news, great, good job. But I get what he was trying to do. But at the same time, the Golden State Warriors aren't going to go anywhere, and they're not going to go anywhere fast. I think that dynasty is closed. I think the moving of Klay Thompson to the Mavs, I think that kind of just bookends that entire dynasty, if you will. And I wouldn't be surprised if Draymond finds himself in another uniform by the end of the year.
They're cooked. They're very, very cooked. Rob, do you agree?
Yeah.
Are you worried about Draymond?
I mean, I think that that wasn't the only statement that had me scratching my head. He also said in reference to Clay that he's going to run through his chest, and pretty much like what Kobe did to Pau Gasol in the Olympics. And so I heard that, and I was like, what the hell is Draymond thinking? I was like, you're just going to go at your bro like that? And so it made me think that, I think that the wheels have already fallen off for Golden State. They're not getting back to where they were, despite the fact that Steph is still saying, hey, this team's got more left in the tank. I'm just not buying it one bit. And Draymond making statements like this makes me think that they have things together even less than I originally thought.
Yeah, I don't think Kuminga and Podziemski are bringing them back to the heyday. Can they compete for a play-in spot? Sure. I mean, that's where they were last year. I think that they could be in a similar position, but in a very stacked West, they're not going anywhere. Is Draymond going to get suspended this year at some point? Yes,
Probably.
he will. It's going to be really interesting whenever they play Dallas. I mean, you go run through his chest after you make those statements, and you're going to get more than just a 1-game suspension, Draymond, with who you are at your core.
Absolutely. You made that statement, and that would be a direct attack on somebody, and that's, NBA's not going to take that lightly, especially like you said, you're a multiple-time offender. They're not going to just gloss over that.
He should have stayed in the NFL. He should have stayed playing football. I don't know why he played basketball. He was a decent tight end. He was a decent tight end.
He's
like
all-time NBA defensive great.
But now we're seeing the CTE. Clearly, he got hit in the head too many times at Michigan State. So, I think that's why he has so many of these switches in the middle of the games. You're like, where the hell did that come from? It's because he got hit in the head a bunch of times, man. Just impulsive thinkers. Whenever you have that, so I'm just saying what science is telling me.
Hey.
Don't put that in the papers on my word.
You certainly could be right. I mean, I do think that a lot of basketball players who go play in the NFL, they have really promising careers, and a lot of times they're far more successful in the NFL space than they are in the NBA space. So who knows? Maybe Draymond would have had unparalleled success in the NFL.
I would say his NBA career's worked out pretty well for him. He's holding on to what he used to be. I think like a lot of us, when we get a little bit older, we get a little bit worse at what we do. We don't like it. Some people are just not mature enough to handle it, and he cannot control his emotions. But good for all the benefit he did last year, taking all that time off in the therapy. It clearly worked for him. I also learned in Media Day that Scoot Henderson looks back on his rookie year, and he's like, hey, what did you learn? He's like, I learned about food. I'm like,
the food.
He's like, I like
good,
the
dog.
food. Like, yeah, Scoot, that's literally all you can point to last year that you did. You were a massive bust.
It made me so proud of Victor. I was like, thank you for being an intelligent young man that can actually answer a question and give your fan base confidence and not just, I like the food. No shit. You're a millionaire and you're eating at really amazing restaurants and you're traveling around. No fucking shit the food is good.
What else do you have to latch onto if you're a Portland Trailblazer, though? You have nothing else going on there. Not only did they have a bad rookie season, their team is terrible. They are awful.
Good God.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of food, the Spurs and Taco Palenque announced that they are currently in a partnership together. So you can catch Taco Palenque in those timeouts on, I think they have one of the games. So shout out to Taco Palenque.
Get some tacos. Yeah.
There we go. Hell yeah. Tasty tacos.
I think for me that wraps up any Media Day topics. There's a couple of the things that I feel like we should discuss before we finish the pod. Is there anything else y'all want to talk about Media Day related?
I mean, we mentioned it briefly earlier, but yeah, just no crazy Jimmy Butler hair. I was pretty disappointed in that. I thought we were going to see a unique hairstyle. So yeah, Jimmy, you let us down. How dare you?
He's all business this year.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's for the best.
Yeah.
Maybe it's for the best.
R.I.P. to Jimmy Media Day.
Yeah.
But
yeah, outside of that.
Speaking of R.I.P., we touched on it at the beginning of the episode, the beginning of the podcast. Rest in peace to an all-time NBA legend, Dikembe Mutombo, second all-time block leader, 6-time all-defensive player, 8-time All-Star, 3-time All-NBA player. He did so much on the court. He did so much off of it. What do you guys think? Anything that y'all remember specifically about Dikembe Mutombo?
I mean, I think whenever I look at the Mutombo MJ interactions, those are always so much fun to look back on and just being like, oh yeah, Dikembe always trying to get the best of MJ, saying you haven't climbed Mount Mutombo and all that stuff, and then eventually later that season he ends up dunking on him. But man, Mutombo, just a really good dude overall. I mean, not only good for the NBA, but just a good guy in general. His mother passed away in his home village, and he donated $15 million and built a hospital where there wasn't a hospital. She wasn't able to get adequate medical care, and he was like, I'm going to make sure that no one in my village is going to die of something similar. So literally donated $15 million, put his money money where his mouth was, and was not only a great ambassador for the NBA, but just for the international basketball community as a whole. And I think that he's an underrated NBA legend that often doesn't get talked about when you talk about like the big men of the 90s, early 2000s. He's definitely a guy that needs to be mentioned more often.
I think we'll all miss the finger wave, right? The finger wave that he would give after blocks. There was also a really funny story that went around him, and I know it's maybe not the best to bring up when we're mourning his loss, but just one of my Rob knows exactly what I'm about to say, and it's just an all-time funny statement. And
it's consent is what it is.
Who wants to sex Mutombo? He walked into a party and walked around and said, "Who wants to sex Mutombo?" And Mutombo, every woman wants to sex you, celebrating you today, my man.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, who the hell wouldn't? I mean,
but I really think he does get lost in that shuffle of those 90s players who just, obviously everyone's going to talk about MJ and Barkley and Pippen and those guys, but Mutombo was right there with them. I mean, when he was with the Nuggets, they, as an 8 seed, they knocked off the number 1 seed. He went to the finals with Allen Iverson. That was fun to watch. But, towards the end of his career, he kind of jumped around a little bit. But to Rob's point, I think the majority of us are probably going to remember more what he did off the court, because he did so much. And I brought a lot of awareness to Africa, too. And also now they have a NBA Africa that gets played on NBA TV every once in a while. So, I think he was probably a large part of that. But, for me, he was still a force in 2003 when we beat him with the Nets. But, shout out to Mutombo. He's always going to have the finger wave, and every time I see my wife throwing something away, I'm going to block it and go, no.
I mean, we've all done it, right? We've all done the finger wave. Like 20, 30 years later, people are still doing that.
But you can't do it to
Dikembe Mutombo.
You can't do it to the face. You got to do it to the crowd.
Right.
Because that's taunting. To the crowd is not taunting. Big difference.
So thank you, Dikembe. Thank you for the memories. Thank you for your work off the court through the Dikembe Mutombo Foundation, all of your work in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. I'm sorry. So thank you and rest in peace. One other thing that I'd like to bring up before we finish the episode is the retirement of Derrick Rose, an absolute legend who his career obviously didn't go the way that it could have gone. Still a fantastic career, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think when you look at him being the youngest MVP in history, his career was on a complete next level trajectory, and injuries obviously derailed a lot of what was going to happen. But I think the way that he was able to come back, work his way back into as a starting point guard, do things like, have that 50-point game and really give us vintage D Rose moments. I think that was his version of saying, hey, I may not be what I was, but I'm happy with who I am. And so it was nice to see that kind of version of D Rose towards the end of his career. But man, he may end up being the first MVP to not be in the Hall of Fame, and that's kind of tough to think about. D Rose not being in the Hall of Fame, when we realize just how good he was when he was young.
Yeah, I remember when we did the Hall of Fame talk 2-3 years ago and talked about probability. I think he was at like 10%, and I remember discussing that, the only one that's ever, I'm really glad you touched on that 50-point game for Minnesota. Whenever I found out about his retirement, I actually sought out that clip and watched his interview at the end of the game and how much that meant to him. He said, man, I work my ass off. This is everything to me, man. And how much that Minnesota Timberwolves fan base at that night appreciated him. What a all-time moment for me, watching him do that and kind of give that vintage D Rose. So respect to a legend. Retired too soon, one of those what ifs if he didn't get all those injuries. Could have been one of the best point guards in the history of the NBA, unquestioned. His peak will forever be remembered in what he did in those Chicago years.
Absolutely. And also just, it's crazy to think about, but if he didn't get hurt, like, how was LeBron legacy would have been? Like, would the Bulls have knocked out the Cavs the next few years? Would he have been the kryptonite to LeBron James? I mean, just you see his trajectory and just when his knee went just buckled, man, that was rough to watch because he knew it was going to change his career, and it sure did. But his highlights are literally second to none. I mean, those things are so much fun to watch, especially when he played in college too. Those are fun to watch as well. So, shout out to D Rose. He had a great career. You can't knock it. MVP is nothing to joke about, but it's always the what if, and he's kind of in that same sentence as Grant Hill, as you said earlier.
Yep. So,
yeah,
respect.
a whole lot of what ifs. He's going to be in a lot of those, what if conversations with a lot of players that got injured. But yeah, it's I'm going to speak about Derrick Rose fondly because he was a fun player to watch. But yeah, a guy that everyone should know about. If you're reading basketball history, you got to bring up Derrick Rose.
Gave his all every time he stepped on the floor.
Absolutely. Well, guys,
boys, this is fun. This is good.
Yeah, I think that's a good episode.
I think so.
That's feeling like it's nice and complete. But yeah, gentlemen, I'll let y'all get back to it, and everyone watching, go ahead and drop us a follow on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. We're on all the social medias. Baseline Bums Podcast. If you're still with us, we appreciate you for joining us and being with us. However you're consuming the podcast, we appreciate you. And it's been your host, Rob, a.k.a. B-Ball Archives, and I've had the bums in here, AJ, Adam. Y'all are lovely. I appreciate y'all.
No, you are. And guess what? Before we go into Go Spurs Go, in 10 minutes, I'm about to go watch the Dallas Cowboys dismantle the Pittsburgh Steelers, and AJ's going to fucking love seeing it happen.
Mid.
Lions are trash.
Mid.
Trash.
Go Spurs!
Go!